Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Glass City Podcast here at the CMB Production Studios with your host, Cowboy Mark, bringing you today's updates. If you notice, we're not alone today. We've got ourselves a guest speaker, Mr. Michael Devon Barlos, or Sir Michael Devon Barlos. We'll put you up
I'm
there.
knighted now. Okay.
You are Sir Michael Devon Barlos. Elton John would be proud. I'm a big fan. I'm sorry, you know.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
We've got him sitting in with us today, and we're going to talk a little bit not only his career now as the lead vocalist from the band Fifth Ace. My understanding is that you also do other entertainment avenues, a cappella group, theater group.
Yep.
You see, now that's one that definitely interested in to get that kind of information out there and get the people involved, and that's the purpose of our podcast. So, why don't we start off? Why don't you introduce yourself and tell the people a little bit about you?
Absolutely. So, like you said before, I am the new frontman for Fifth Ace. I have been for a couple months now. They were looking for a new vocalist, and I saw their post, so I messaged Sean Truman, who we both know very well, and then here we are.
One thing led to another.
Here we are,
right?
yeah.
One thing. Now, was this a little
together.
different from anything else you've done? Because I know Fifth Ace is more of a classic hard rock band. So, is it a different variety of material that you were previously used to, or is this something you're able to jump right into and say,
no.
I can do this?
I was kind of, I've sung classic rock before, I've sung hard rock before, but a lot of the bands that I've been in the past have been more alternative, more modern.
Okay.
So I use a different side of my voice for Fifth Ace, at least more consistently. So it's been kind of a learning curve for me, trying to keep up with the guys, because they go hard, man.
They do. They play hard. I think the one that does the most work behind the scenes is Charlie, your drummer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's what, 60?
62. He's about to be 63 in a couple months.
And he plays like he's 19.
He sure does. Yeah, he acts like he's younger than I am.
I know. That's an inspiration to me.
Absolutely.
To see the fact, because personally, I'll be 49 this year, 50 next year, so I'm getting into that age where they tell you to slow down, but it ain't going to happen. It's not going to happen. When it comes to music and entertainment, I'm going to continue this personally until you have to wheel me out in a wheelchair, and even then, I will probably be there. So let's get back onto some of the other things you're doing. We know with Fifth Ace, you guys have been getting out there. You've been doing some pretty good shows.
Absolutely.
That are getting recognition, and we're going to give them more recognition. We're going to make sure
the
public knows where you're at, when you're there, and we'll go from there. The a cappella group. What?
Yes.
Okay.
So
no instruments, just voices only.
No instruments at all. Voices only. We're an 11-member group from Bowling Green. So we rehearse. We perform predominantly down there in BG. So we have 6 guys and 5 ladies. So we have a low bass all the way up to high soprano, so the full vocal range, and we try and make songs our own. So if you hear us singing a song, it probably won't sound like the studio track from the radio. But it's not supposed to.
It's all voices. So
it's 11 voices doing the work.
Where do you fit into this range? Where is your range?
I'm in the middle of the stack, so I sing baritone or tenor, so medium or mid to high male range, and I also beatbox. I'm a vocal percussionist.
Beatbox, boy, I haven't heard that in a long time. Maybe one of these days we'll get you to do that right here.
Maybe.
You know, maybe give you a chance to practice. Hey, there we go, ladies and gentlemen. And where is this troupe performing? Where are some of the places that you guys are going to be?
The very next thing we're doing, we're performing down in Bowling Green at the Stone's Throw at 8 p.m. That's July 31st. That's
July
a Wednesday
31st.
night.
Okay.
They do the Stone's Throw down there. It's a great bar down there. Every Wednesday they do something called the Hump Day Review. So they have local acts come in and just they sign up for a 20-minute slot or whatever. And there are a bunch of local acts that really get great recognition down there. So we're singing down there at 8 o'clock on the 31st.
Okay.
And then we're going to be at the Black Swamp Arts Festival, which is a really cool event. It's an annual event in September, so it's September 7th this year, Saturday.
Okay.
We're performing at noon on the community stage on Main Street.
Okay, well, again, you're going to have to make sure you get me this information as the week comes up, and we can, again, present it to the public.
Sure.
So they can know what's going on and come out and see you not only sing one Saturday hard rock,
I know.
And then do a cappella the following week, and that's a great broad range. Now, the next step, theater. Not only are you, singing and acting, what else are you involved with that particular environment?
Theater, I think, is my true passion. I mean, I love singing with the band. I really enjoy performing in all aspects, but theater is something that's kind of all-encompassing as far as entertainment goes, because there's so much learning that goes on behind the scenes that the audience never gets to see. So the actual show that people go to the theater and watch is just the final step.
That's maybe 1/4 of what everything happens.
Oh, less than that.
Even less than that.
Oh yeah, you rehearse for some theater companies, up to 3 months.
Right.
And then you have one weekend of shows. So you put all this time and all this work, memorization, learning your songs, learning your lines,
learning how not to trip over each other as you're walking around stage.
Well, and that's a lot. Yeah, dancing, moving, blocking, which is stage movement. You do all that for 3 or 4 shows, and then you're done after a weekend.
So you've got lines you have to memorize. You have songs maybe you have to memorize. Then you have to memorize choreography. And if it don't work, what happens?
Well, then you best hope you're good at making it up on the spot and not looking like you don't know what you're doing.
Sometimes those are the best shows, impromptu. If you look back in history, the early 50s and 60s TV shows, they were all done live. Dick Van Dyke,
happen.
Yes, and a lot of those characters, impromptu, their lines. It was just right there. They forgot their actual line, and they had to come up with. Have you had to do that?
Yes.
We've got to ask.
Yes, a couple times. Well, actually, this isn't a line forgetting story, but when, what was it? Probably 2014. A few years back at the Village Players Theater, I was in production of Into the Woods, and halfway through Act 2, all the power went out. And that's a small theater. I don't know if you've ever been to the Village Players Theater. Not
personally, but
it's over on Upton Avenue. It's like right between Monroe and Central. So it's this tiny little building, just in the middle of urban Toledo.
Okay.
And a car hit a transformer outside. The power went out for the entire block, and it never came back on. So all of our instruments, all of our microphones, all of our lights, obviously are
no longer
by
functioning.
Electricity, so that they were completely wiped out. So all of the cast that was backstage, all of the audience members, our directors, our technical staff, they were all out there with their phone flashlights on. So we did half of the second act of the show with no sound equipment, no amplification, no instruments other than a drummer and a flute.
Oh wow!
by lamplight, by cell phone light, and it was one of the most. It was the craziest theater thing I've ever done, I think, because there was so much room for error that we all just had to. We learned how to listen to each other. I mean, to the smallest, most minute detail.
Right.
Because anything that happened, anything could have made it just run right off the rails.
Right.
So it was the most intimate theater experience I think I've ever had, because it was just silent. If you weren't saying anything, it was quiet. So there was so much. There was a lot of pressure, but it was almost like
a freedom.
Oh yeah, there was a release, because. You're controlling everything now. You're in the driver's seat, and you just have to keep the show going. And there's so much solo work in that show that a lot of times you'll be on stage by yourself with nothing, with no lights, no sound, no music. So you have to trust in yourself and trust in your castmates to keep everything on track.
It sounds to me like that may have been one of the greatest successes, to be able to continue forward.
Absolutely.
With the very minimal, and the way they did it hundreds of years ago, when in amphitheaters, they went out there, it was just them.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have sound support. They didn't have always the musical accompaniment. They had themselves and their desire to bring forth the act that they were performing.
Absolutely.
Kudos to you guys and your troupe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, what inspired all of this? I mean, you have such a broad range of skill. We're just gonna flat out call it skill. What started this whole thing? What got you into doing what you do nowadays?
Music in general, not many people in my family are musically inclined, so it was kind of just me. But my grandmother would play piano with me when I was really young, very, very young. So we'd play like chopsticks and all that stuff together. But singing specifically, I didn't get into it until my sophomore year of high school. So I was a little bit of a late bloomer. In
terms of starting into something,
yeah. A lot of people that I do theater with now, I mean, there are people my age all the way up into their 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond. And they've been doing it since they were tiny, since they were 3 or 4, because your parents get you into it. And so I didn't get into it until later into high school. And a friend of mine actually dared me to do a talent show. And
sounds like a tall dare.
Well, I had never done anything like that before. I'd never performed on stage, at least not by myself. Like I'd been in orchestra or whatever, but it was always me surrounded by 30 other students or friends scraping across their violins. So it was the first time that I had ever even considered singing by myself in front of a bunch of judgmental high school kids.
So, all your peers are usually the worst ones.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I mean, there's a lot on the line. As 2 more years of high school, this could be 2 years of ridicule from all these people that think I suck on stage.
How did it work out?
It went great. It went great in the long run. Yeah, I got 2 of my friends together and we played Bobby Darin's Daydream.
Great tune.
And we ended up doing just fine. And afterwards, the woman who would end up being my choir director for the next 2 years, lovely woman, she came up to me and she said, "You need to be in choir. You
pursue this. Keep going with this.
You need to pursue it because this will be something you learn to really love, and you could be very good at."
Now, how did you transition from a student talent show into, say, like theater? We're hearing that you acquired the musical sense from a vocal standpoint, which is choir. How did that lead into the actual acting in the performance? Because that's a huge step.
Yeah.
Singing on stage is one thing.
Right.
Being somebody else, and essentially that's what you're doing. You're a character.
Yeah.
But being how did that fall into place? How did that get started?
We're very lucky to live in a very theater-rich community. Northwest Ohio, and Toledo, right at the center of that, is a huge hub for community theater, and we put a lot of stock into high school theater as well. So I was very lucky to be at a high school with a very well-developed drama club. So I had people that were older than me that I could look up to and really learn from, students and teachers alike. And then once I got into college and I started exploring more with community theater, I found a lot of mentor roles, or people that could fill mentor roles for me in many different aspects. So I kind of learned by doing
What better way? You got thrown into it, basically.
I did. The first community show I ever did, it was a production of Gypsy. And I was a freshman in college. I had never done a community show before, and another person had dropped out. And this was like 3 weeks before the show. And they're like, "We just need a guy that can come in and learn a couple lines." It's like, 12 lines or whatever. You go on stage, you say your lines, and then you go off. It's not a huge role.
So it was it was a kickstart, though. It
they kind of threw me in, and I said, "Okay, well, I guess we'll figure it out." And so I did the best I could, and it's grown from there.
Real quick side note: as you know, we're live, ladies and gentlemen, and we've got a live chat feed here, and a good friend of mine, Scratchman Drew. Hello, Drew. How you doing? Has said hello to Mr. Michael.
Hello, Michael.
Drew. And I'm going to try to keep track. If you guys see me looking down, or if I'm looking away, it's not that I'm not paying attention. I'm trying to keep track of what's going on, and eventually we'll have moderators set up that can actually do that for me.
Hey.
They can intercept or maybe even respond to some of what's going on. I do want to thank Scratchman for stopping in for this feed. He's got his own little entertainment thing. He takes lottery scratch-off tickets and he does them live.
Oh yeah,
yeah. It's
awesome.
It's a huge thing out there. It's entertainment. We're going to be featuring him on one of our shows.
Awesome.
So back to the theater. So you started in college, and basically you got bit by the bug, and that has led into some of the other things you're doing.
Yeah. A lot of what I do now, I produce my own shows, like cabaret style variety shows. My wife and I produce them together, probably 2 or 3 a year, depending on how busy we are. And we do them all for the Cherry Street Mission downtown.
Okay.
So we collect canned goods, non-perishables, stuff like that. That's how you get in the door, and then we just take them all down in our trunks and drop them all off. So that's what I'm trying to get into more now is the production side of things. Okay. Producing shows, making shows happen to give back to the community, and then also
and
directing
which you're
shows.
doing in many folds. Not only are you giving entertainment,
yes,
you're giving back to like the Cherry Street Mission, which is helping many others outside of and using your abilities to do these shows to collect all of this. This is a great thing, and that's what the city of Toledo needs to hear about.
Right.
Because being a musician, being an entertainer, how often do you really get your shows publicized?
Other than Facebook, not often.
Okay, and that's my point. And that was the entire purpose of this podcast, to get talented individuals, even if you're not talented, come on out. We're going to talk to you anyhow. You got to be talented to sit with me anyhow, because again, I'm not a interviewer. I'm not. I am just me, and we're doing this thing by the seat of our pants.
It's gone pretty well so far.
I think the raw aspect, hopefully, is what people want to see. They don't want to see a production that, like a theater show, there's a lot of production, a lot of planning, a lot of training. We don't want that in
This is the opposite.
This is totally the opposite. We're going to fly
no
from
planning
the
at
all. I noticed when you came here, you had no material ready, so you didn't have anything specific to talk about.
I had no clue
if
what
you
we were
notice,
talking about.
I have no material ready, because we're just going to do this. Now, what are some of the other things you're involved with? We talked about the bands, we talked about theater, we talked about the a cappella group. What else do you have under your sleeve? What's under that hat that you're wearing that seems to be...
I do wear a lot of hats.
I've yet to see you without one personally.
I know. It's the hair is thinning, and now I'm just wearing hats all the time.
Okay.
You gotta sport it. You gotta be proud. You gotta be proud of it. Bald is beautiful.
So far, for all the podcasts we've done, I've only had one negative comment, and that happened to be from our drummer. Just yesterday at practice, he said, "Love the podcast, but you got to wear a hat."
You got to wear a hat. There we go.
I have one, but it don't fit. Usually I'm wearing my cowboy hat.
Sure.
I always wear them. So I got to
Absolutely.
custom make one to fit over the headphones to be able to hide the shiny spot.
Right.
And of course, being on, we've got lighting going on so people can see us, and it's the production behind what I do isn't as extensive as what you do. But there's a little bit of planning.
Sure.
My looks aren't one of them.
But other things that I'm involved with, this kind of goes back to directing and all that. I teach voice, so I offer voice lessons.
So I can learn to sing then, finally.
Yeah, anybody can learn to sing, Mark. Anybody can learn to sing. So that kind of spawned out of, I went to school and I was involved with the College of Music down in Bowling Green for quite a while. And kind of through theater, I would meet people that were like me, that either got into it late in the game or they didn't have a conventional music education. So that they didn't go to school for music, but they still have a love of performing. They still want to be out there on stage, and they want to, regardless of age, they want to keep going and pursuing education in their craft. So now I have I have 4 recurring students that I teach regularly, and I'm taking on a couple more.
You might have another one. You never know.
There you go.
I've been singing for many years, but it's one of those crafts that you never ever stop learning.
You can't stop learning, because the moment you think you know everything is the moment that everybody else is going to pass you by, and And that's really
you heard it,
important.
everybody.
Yeah.
Words of wisdom right
Yes,
there
yes.
from
Never,
Sir Michael
ever.
Devon Barlos.
Never ever stop learning. There's always somebody out there in any field that does something better than you do.
Now, can we kind of change that? Maybe not better, but different. Maybe more efficient.
Okay, yeah, I will change that.
Okay,
their skill level is higher than you. I'll say it that way.
They're more practiced
because they do have different experiences. Everybody comes from a different musical background.
I wasn't trying to.
No.
But to give a perspective to say, somebody's watching this right now and is new to all of this, but has always had a desire. We don't want to intimidate them. We want to welcome them.
Absolutely.
So you have the experience to be able to pass on to that new person.
Yes.
So by saying you're better, it's almost no offense, conceited.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And you are far from being conceited. In the times I've worked with you and in the things that we've talked about, you yourself have welcomed me on stage to perform with you, and there isn't a conceited bone in your body.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
We'll look at it this way. You have those that are more talented in what they've learned that they can pass down.
There are people. There will always be somebody. There will be people that you meet that have more time invested in their craft.
That's what we like.
And you have to not only listen to those people, but be open to two-way learning, because you will always have something that you can offer them.
Right.
In return. And that's
now, how often do you find it just the opposite, that where you get somebody new into, and they may enlighten you because you've been doing it one way for a particular part of time, and you kind of not set in your ways, but
absolutely.
Does that happen? Do you get newcomers coming in with a fresh perspective and say, "Wow, we can do it like this"?
Yes. Actually, just last November, December, it was my first year directing at Perrysburg Junior High.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we directed the musical. A friend and I directed their musical, and we had a cast of 90 kids. We had 90 kids audition, which is crazy.
From the same school?
All from the same school. All from junior high. Yeah, the Perrysburg Junior High, just 7th and 8th graders. And we both went in like we're confident in our abilities. We can direct the show. We'll guide the students, and I learned so much about myself and my leadership style, and what not to do.
Right.
I mean, the first year of doing anything can always be rough, but down to things like scheduling food for the show week. I'd never had to do that before. Dealing with parents buying tickets for extended families, just like really specific stuff that you'd never think of. I really got again thrown right into the fire.
Thrown into the fire.
That's just my life, I guess. Just a series of being thrown into situations.
I've noticed with a lot of entertainers such as yourself, that is how they've made their biggest mark, because they were immersed in it, maybe not even by choice. Someone come up and said, "Hey, we think you have the skill. This is what we need you to do," and then by trial and error, you learn the ups and the downs.
I think there is a benefit to. It's like I am a compulsive procrastinator. I am
Welcome to my world.
The worst at doing anything on time.
Speaking of which is why the show was late. We're going to go ahead and blame Sir Michael here, but it's all good.
I was about 20 minutes late.
He had to find the studio, so that just proves a point that you're trying to get to.
Yes,
it happens.
It happens, but because of that, I feel like there is a benefit in a little bit of added pressure. Raising the stakes for yourself.
Right.
And sometimes I find if I can just convince somebody that I can do something, even if I can't do it. If I just go in and I say, "Yeah, I'm the man for the job,"
a smoke screen up there just a little bit to get involved.
This is what I've done. And now I feel like I'm at a point where I have enough experience, and I've been in the community for so long that I can say, I have been around this stuff. I know what I'm talking about. But also, I've never done this before, but you should trust me to do it. And
you heard it up there, okay? Those of you that are looking to produce a school or a private troupe, get a hold of this young man. You can actually get a hold of him through me as well. let's bring that experience. And speaking of that, how does one, whether it be an adult or a child or a parent that wants to get their child into this, how do they go about doing that? Who do they contact? Who do they get a hold of? How do they get this process started? Say they're at a school that doesn't really offer, a theater or a performance type setup, or if they do, it's small, and they want to expand that knowledge. How would they go about getting into this?
Sure. Like we were talking about before, we are very blessed to be in a theater-rich community, Toledo especially. So there are plenty of places that you can reach out to for any aspect of theater. If you just want to go and see shows, you can definitely do that. And I'll get you links to all the places
please.
That I would normally look.
And here's what we would do. We're going to do this. We're going to put them on the actual YouTube page.
Perfect.
So all of our viewers, and hello to everybody that's tuning in. Again, we're sitting with Michael Devon Barlos, and I dubbed him Sir Michael. He is our first guest on our live feed. And we're going to get many more. Hopefully, we'll have you back in the future.
I'd love that.
As we're doing these shows and stuff like that. So, just want to say hello to everybody that's out there. And then what's going to happen is, sorry, I bumped the camera, guys. And again, we're in the baby stages of this show, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But we'll put those links on there so they can go to the page and say, maybe not themselves, but they know somebody. They have a family member.
Absolutely.
They have a neighbor.
Yeah.
They know a child that just goes outside and reenacts and plays that way. We can get them involved. So you're going to get me those links.
Yeah.
And
the best place to go, it's a public Facebook group called the Toledo Area Theater Exchange.
Okay.
It's run by a group called ACT, it stands for Actors Collaborative Toledo. They run the group, and it's basically a central location for any group in the area to post audition information, post casting calls, post show dates, show times, anything that they need to get out to the public, they post in the Theater Exchange, and it goes out to everybody.
So that would be a link that I could utilize to be able to bring that information to our viewers and people that are, and then again, that is why we're here. This is why you're sitting with me, is to enlighten me on what's going on. I know the music scene, I know the live band scene, but there is so much more going on behind that in the city of Toledo that people don't know about.
Right.
Where do they get their information? Well, unfortunately, there's only a few media outlets that is talking about this. We hope to change that, and hopefully with your assistance and with your help and your knowledge, we can get this out there. And by doing a live feed on YouTube, we're hitting an audience that doesn't even live here. We have the ability to let, say, a family member, even yours, you can tell them about a show, but say they're interested in more. They can go to the page.
Absolutely.
They can look up an old video, say, wow, this person's here, oh, this type of music, or I want to see, a group that's performing a particular show. Maybe it's something they've seen in the past, but now they want to see how the rendition that's current is going.
Sure.
We can pass that information along, and that's what we're going to do with this page. We're going to utilize you guys, all of you out there, to get this information to me. And I had said before, I'm not a journalist. I'm not going to hunt this information down. Well, the truth of the matter is I've made several phone calls just today alone to collect information to make sure I have it. So I'm passionate about getting the information to you.
I think that speaks to the longevity of this podcast in particular, though. So many people nowadays, they think podcasting is just the way that things work, and if you have something to say, if you had a good soccer practice, you're going to go podcast about it, and then everybody knows how your soccer practice went. But there are so many. It's an oversaturated medium because of people that are not particularly passionate about getting information out or highlighting talent or skill or whatever the area of expertise may be. And those are the people that they make their first podcast, and then they say, "Oh, this is too hard. It's too much work," and then they're done. And this type of podcast is so refreshing because you actually have a love for the music scene. You are a member of the music scene in many different ways.
Well, very much so. I myself have been in the music industry. I started with my first paying band in 1985.
There we go.
And
6 years before I was even here.
It gives you an idea of my passion. And through the years, I've had an opportunity to play with a great number of bands. I even actually personally moved to Florida, Georgia for a short time. A band down there hired me. They were up here, opened up for a show that I was doing with, and I had left that band. They got a hold of me and said, "Hey, we want you to be our bass player."
That's awesome.
So I wasn't down there very long, but it was long enough to learn that, wow, the music industry goes so far beyond what you think it is.
Sure.
You only see what the public gets a chance to see. And now I want to give them a chance behind the scenes.
Right.
Hours and hours and hours of practice. Countless days and nights of what are we going to do?
Right. Well, and that all, like you just said, the audience sees a 40-minute show or an hour-long show, and then they go home. And they don't see all of the effort that went into those 40 minutes or 60 minutes.
Which could be months or weeks.
Years even.
Okay, so we're talking a large spectrum.
Long game,
Long game. And so since you brought that kind of up, your feelings on like this podcast and what we're trying to do for the city of Toledo, do you think it's something that we've needed for a while? Is it something that, well, it's here, but what do you think from a musician and from an entertainment standpoint?
I think that this is the type of podcast that can easily catch on because it's accessible. It's a relatable podcast to people that are in the music industry here in Toledo. Like you just said, you've been a part of this culture for so long,
for a very long time.
That you're so immersed in it that, and who better to host a podcast and talk face to face with people about their experiences, and you can compare and contrast different things, and that makes for interesting discourse. And that's what a lot of podcasts lack, I think, is the actual substance. Substance of
what happens to get you there.
Yeah. Why are you making a podcast?
Well, the reason I'm making a podcast is, again, information. We have newspaper, we have television, we have Facebook. But when you go to your large media, which would be TV and or a newspaper, 9 out of 10 times you have to pay to advertise.
Yeah, ad space is so expensive.
Guess what?
Too.
This doesn't cost you anything.
It does not.
Except time. And the time that I think that individuals can invest in either sitting down with me or taking and sending me their information once a week is well worth the reward for everybody.
Oh, absolutely.
There are so many people. I was unaware of all the theater groups in the city of Toledo, and I've lived here my whole life. So today, for me, your knowledge has enlightened me. There's more I need to look into. There's more avenues that I need to
There's always more.
Follow.
There's always more avenues
to bring this in. And so that's why I want to do this. This concept has been in the air for 6 years.
That's what you were saying before. Yeah,
myself and several other DJs had gotten together. We were going to sit down and start doing a podcast and talk about what happened that week at our shows and stuff like that. It never flourished. I finally, and earlier we were talking about Mr. Scratchman Drew and what he does. He does some of his live feeds right here in our studio. It inspired me. It showed me that it doesn't take a lot. It takes dedication. And he is very dedicated to what he do. And I owe him a big thanks and re-inspiring me to bring what my passion is. My passion is entertainment. And
quick conversation here. All right.
Oh yeah, we've got all our live.
That's awesome.
All our live viewers chiming in, and I apologize if I'm missing stuff. Again, like I said earlier, I'm going to have to set up a moderator, and basically I'm going to have to let them answer things for me because I don't read that quick, and we've got a lot of information to bring out to you. Speaking of information, we've got updates that we need to do.
Weekly shows?
But yeah, we got weekly shows coming up. But what do you have going on currently, and something that you may want to really put out there for the audience that you'd like to make them aware of that has no other media outlet?
Yeah, absolutely. The next thing that I'm involved in, like I said way back at the beginning of this podcast, Inside Voices, my a cappella group, is performing at the Stone's Throw down in Bowling Green, 8 o'clock on July 31st. So that's a Wednesday, July 31st at 8. That's a cappella music. If that's your fancy, come on down and listen to us. And then a couple days after that, on August 2nd, I'll be at the Civic Music Hall, with a good friend of mine, and we are just playing about 45 minutes, just a duo set.
Okay.
Me on drums and keyboard, and he sings and plays guitar.
See, now here's a new thing. I didn't know you were a drummer.
Yes.
I knew you played keyboards. I watched you play, but
yeah.
a
little bit of everything.
Maybe after the show we'll get you on the kit back here in the studio, and
I don't know. We'll see.
we won't do that yet live.
Perfect.
However, that is something. A great entertainer, Jeff Lamb, and he used to have a show called The Man Show.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Where he would focus on groups. Well, I'm going to steal his idea like that, and I'm going to give him credit for it right now. The way I'm going to go with this is I want to get like you and Fifth Ace in here playing live 1 or 2 songs while we do the interviews.
That'd be great.
If you're a solo artist, if you're just a vocalist and we got to put on a music track, guess what? I want to get you all in here.
Yeah.
I am eventually going to upgrade. Like I said, this is in the baby stages. But the overall picture is I want to have multiple cameras where I can be in the control room area here. You guys can be in the jam room, and we can communicate, we can talk, we can have you guys play live.
Sure.
And I think it's just going to be awesome. But that's a little bit down the road. There's I got to save up for that.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, absolutely.
Rockefeller, I am not. So we've gone through your ins and outs, highlights. We haven't talked about the lows, but I don't want to. I want to keep everything up. Maybe one of these.
Yeah, everything has balance. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
On a different
Well,
episode.
you have to have a low
Yeah.
to attain that high, and be able to find that medium ground where it's consistent. The consistency is a lot of it. Anything else that you wanted to maybe bring up to our viewers?
A few other shows we have on September 7th.
Okay.
Like I said before, Inside Voices will be at the Black Swamp Arts Festival during the day. That's at 12 down in Bowling Green. And that same day, I'm playing on a 1984 night at Frankie's, which
Wait
is...
a minute, that was before you were born, right?
It was before I was born.
Didn't we just establish that then from when I got into the music scene?
Yeah.
So how are you learning the music?
Oh, I've
This is a generation before you almost.
Yes, it was. Before I even became involved in music, my parents were both very big into music. They're not musicians themselves, but they love music.
They have the love for it.
Yes, they have a love for music, and so I was kind of raised on that sound.
That mentality.
That mentality, and also that era of music. I was really raised on classic rock and 70s, 80s style.
Okay, when we talk about classic rock, here's the issue we're going to have, especially when you're talking with someone like me.
Classic rock is different for people today than it is
Correct.
for people that got into it in 1985.
The generation that you belong to, you're classic rock, which is going to be mid-70s through
the Who,
80s.
Zeppelin, Styx.
Okay, well, that's mid to late. That's mid to late. Well, sometimes classic rock for me is... Chuck Berry, things like that, So it's a perspective, and that's what I like about it. You coming in here have a different perspective, a fresh perspective on things I'm aware of but don't know about. So that's that learning curve for me. That's where...
And it goes both ways.
That's where...
We have to learn from each other.
Your knowledge is greater than mine, and I can learn from you, and that's what we were talking about earlier, is that it doesn't... Age has no meaning.
Oh, absolutely.
Experience has a meaning, and we've experienced the entertainment field in different ways. I myself more in bands, owning and running a DJ company. Over the last several years, running sound, which I've done with you and Fifth Ace and a few other bands, and one of Timmy's big shows, Papapalooza. I've been the sound engineer for that for the last, I believe, 3 or 4 years. That's my knowledge. But you have a more intimate knowledge on things, on the a cappella groups, the theater groups. I suggest everybody look into these things. Instead of going to the movies, go see a theater group. No, seriously.
Yeah, come out and see some live entertainment.
The movie will end up on...
It goes to Netflix eventually.
Netflix or some other media source. You can always wait to see it. you can't always see a live performance of a theater show. Nope. And I really feel that is something we need to bring back more into the forefront. Everybody's gone digital. Obviously, here we are, digital, right? It's kind of an oxymoron here, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
Let's take away from the digital a little bit, just a little.
Yeah.
Instead of
go see some live singing.
Go see a live entertainment show, and put that back into the community. And I think even the people that are outside of it, if they support it more, then you'll get more people that become interested and want to join the inside instead of staying on the outside.
I can't tell you how many people that actively do shows now that participate in theater do so because they came to see a show when they were younger, and they're like, this is what I need to do. Whether or not it's what they do as a career, because so many people just do theater for fun. A lot of people don't end up on Broadway, and we're okay with it.
Right.
We do it because it's a love that we have for the craft.
Yeah, because there's not a lot of money in the small scale of it.
No.
But I feel that's not why you should get into it.
No.
And like I said, I've been playing in bands since 1985. I won't say how old I was at that time. I was young. I was younger than I am now. But my love for music is far above beyond just playing it as well. That's why I do the sound behind the scenes.
Sure.
Because I want to take what I know and what I've learned and pass it on, and bring that to the forefront as well. Behind the scenes, like you were saying. And speaking of behind the scenes, we've got shows we need to announce. Did you want to help with that? Did you want to stay?
Let's do it.
And potentially
let's see what's going on this week.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the current shows that I do have are actually from one place at this time, which is Papa's Tavern over on Liberty Street, and he's always got a great lineup of artists, bands, events going on, and these are going to be from that location. What we will do, and Michael's going to give me the information. Again, we're going to be setting up the links for the different theater groups and different things that we talked about today. We'll do a midweek update. I was not planning on doing anything like that, and I want to make sure we do get the information out there. So for a while, what we'll do is we'll do the live show on Sundays, which you guys can all chime in on. And I'm seeing it, and Michael's been watching the screen here too. We have already a nice fan base, and hopefully we'll get it larger, and we'll get more information out there. But we're going to do a pre-recorded midweek show as well. So some of the shows that maybe will pop up that were last minute, you yourself or somebody else can let me know.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can send all information, and please, we have a lot of different media sources, but the one that really, really works for me, as Mike can see, I've got my notes open here. I am slipping on words again. Anyhow, please send all correspondence to glasscitypodcast@gmail.com. What was that, Mike?
glasscitypodcast@gmail.com.
That's right. You can do it there. Now, if you don't want to find it that way, you can go to my YouTube page, and there is a link in the About section. Click on the link. So you just got to click the link, and you can send me the information. So there you go. Ladies and gentlemen, again, correspondence to glasscitypodcast@gmail.com. Now, what do we got going on, Mike? What's happening out here?
Let's check out what we have this week, Mark. So we're going to start on Tuesday. Then this, again, is all at Papa's Tavern over on Liberty Street. Tuesday, we have live music with Adam Sorelli. Wednesday, Bobby May is playing, and then he's also going to be there on Thursday, but this is going to be an open jam. So if you're a singer, if you're a guitar player, if you're a drummer, come in, bring your instrument, and you can get up on stage and sing with everybody else there.
Do a
few covers, figure stuff out in the moment.
Hey, now that's the best. The open jam,
just figure it
ad-lib. I had opportunities many years ago with a friend of mine who ran a bar in Chicago, and he had a jazz group that was there weekly. And they found out I was a musician and asked me to play, and I looked at them dumbfounded, because jazz is a whole different world.
Oh, yeah.
It was a 5-piece, and everyone's kind of doing something a little different, but it all collectively works together.
Yeah.
Well, I don't usually get stage fright. That night, I was like,
absolutely.
But we had a great time. They told me to pick a key and stay there. They did all the work.
Oh, yeah.
So again, the live, the Thursday open jam is, come on in. Sit down with Bobby Mace or stand up, because, and it is on the stage.
Whatever
but you can sit down if you want.
Whatever you want to do.
And crank a few tunes out with that young man. What else we got going on here?
Let's see. We have Zodiac Click on Friday. And then on Saturday, you want to do this one?
Sure. This one kind of means a little bit to me. Why? Because it is a Christmas in July party. That's right. We're already talking about Christmas in July. There's a lot of that going on, a lot of sales, Christmas in July sales. But you are going to be rocking it out with a band that I am a part of, Musical Mayhem. And there is a reason why we're called Mayhem. You never know what we're going to do.
You got some Christmas tunes lined up?
We have Christmas tunes lined up. However, I'm going to warn you all now, there is a twist.
What's the twist?
We play them
to find out on Saturday.
Yeah, we play them not traditional.
That's okay.
If you expect to come and listen to traditional Christmas music, it'll be a traditional song, but it's not going to be traditional.
There we go.
One in particular, we are doing, I'm going to kind of give you a little hit. We are doing Frosty the Snowman. Everybody knows the song.
Yeah.
But it's going to be more of a hard metal feel.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
This is going to be wild. And there'll be a part where you can sing along.
What am I doing on Saturday? I should go and see you.
You should come see us. And maybe, you know what? Maybe we'll get you up on stage with us and be able to crank out a few vocals.
Christmas is my favorite holiday.
I'm ready. Let's do this.
I am ready. I love Christmas.
So, again, ladies and gentlemen, on that Saturday, this coming Saturday, is Christmas in July with Musical Mayhem. And we hope to see you at all these different shows, one way or another. And as the week goes on, again, I'll collect more shows.
Perfect.
Hopefully you'll send me
anything
more information.
that comes up, I'll forward right along to you.
Even if it's a theater performance that's going on that you may not personally be involved with, but you really want to,
I will spread the word.
You're going to get that to me so we can get it out to these fine folks. And that pretty much sums up what today we're doing. I do want to thank you, Michael, for stopping in.
Thank you for having me.
Give you guys a real quick heads up. The reason Sir Michael Devon Barlos is our first guest is a month prior to my first show, I posted that I was putting together a live podcast. Mike was the very first one to say, I want to do it.
Yeah.
The very first. I mean, I think it was within 3 or 4 minutes of me posting it. I could probably look it up.
It's fate that we were on Facebook at the same time.
He was the very first one. So in the future, we're going to get other artists.
Absolutely.
I actually have Mr. Tim Stahl himself.
Oh, yeah?
Is going to be in 2 weeks. Not this coming Sunday, but the following Sunday. We have Tim Stahl. He's going to sit down with us. We're going to talk about the bar. We're going to talk about the entertainment. So that means I have a Sunday between now and then that's going to be open. Next Sunday is open. So if you know somebody that may want to stop in, maybe somebody from your theater group or even your a cappella group, we can talk with them. Or if anybody else out there has any suggestions or ideas, let me know. Have them get a hold of me. We'll talk and we'll see about it, because I'd really like to have each week somebody new. We don't have a big studio here, so we can't do a huge group. But I think we got enough room behind us. We could probably hide a few more faces back there, and I think everybody could hear us. But let's do that. So again, ladies and gentlemen, again, I want to thank Mr. Michael Devon Barlos, Sir Michael Devon Barlos. That's never going to go away. For being with us on our first live chat. Everybody else, thank you for tuning in. Again, look for an updated video on Wednesday, and let's get some ideas together for the following show. I want to thank you all. Have a great day. And again, this was Glass City Podcast with Sir Michael Devon Barlos as our guest, and me, your host, Cowboy Mark. Have a good one, everybody.